Iconoclast Speaks.
Hello and welcome to the Iconoclast Speaks. I am the Iconoclast. Welcome to my bunker, den, abode, my hidden spot where I come to speak with you. And I'm going to take these off, taking my glasses off because it's just a weird glare to me. Anyway, what I want to talk to you about, I may have talked about this before, the oversensitivity, the easily offensive world we now live in, the hypersensitivity we now have, and it's borderline insanity. Just over the past week, we've had multiple instances of people like just going overboard with the "I'm offended" thing. We had Kevin Hart, who was going to host. It was announced he was going to host the Oscars. Within less than 48 hours, he was gone because of things he had said and tweeted over his comedy career back when he was in his 20s and then even like 10 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever. Things he had done and said. He's a comedian. He pushes limits, said things that offended people. He's now gone. And people will be, well, he didn't want to apologize. And he's like, well, he's a comedian. And if a comedian starts apologizing for everything they say and do, the comedy's lost. It's gone. I think Jerry Seinfeld talked about it once where, as a comedian, the worst place to now go is college campuses. When I was in colleges, comedians traveled and, performed at college campuses. That's happening less and less now. And that's sad because they know they can't go there because, the college kids can't take it and they freak out and they, protest every little thing. And it's just ridiculous. It's crazy going on. We then had a kid who won the Heisman Trophy just a few days ago. And when he was 14, he tweeted something out. He used the word queer, calling one of his friends a queer. He was 14, and people went bonkers. He went back and he deleted. Now, he deleted it, and he's apologized. But he was calling out, from what I understand, a friend. Even if it wasn't a friend, it was like he was 14. Okay, he's now in his 20s, and he's being held accountable for something he did as a teenager. You can't even do that in a court of law right now. If you rob a bank when you're 14, it's locked boxed. It can't be brought back up once you're 18. I think we have to have a limit of when someone says something that you can go back in time and find it and, scourge them for it. Mr. Gunn, writer-director of Guardians of the Galaxy, did 1 and 2, was going to do 3, but apparently when he was in his 20s, he made some off-colored, gross, and inappropriate jokes. Yeah, they were. But he was also in a time he was directing really inappropriate movies. Disney knew this about him. Now, the thing is, Disney likes to put up this whole squeaky clean persona of themselves, but they own a couple of movie companies that do radar films. I have friends who have worked for Disney who worked on very not family friendly appropriate things, and they were actually Disney employees and had to go work on these things. So Disney doesn't have the squeaky clean image you may think they have. The other thing, just today I read, the school that the musical movie TV show Fame was based on was going to be performing The Sound of Music. Well, the principal went in and said they can't have any swastikas or Nazi references in The Sound of Music. Okay, if you don't know what that's about, The Sound of Music is about the Von Trapp family in Austria, and they are escaping Nazism. And the father is an Austrian and a military man and was being forced to work for the Nazis. He defies them. And in the musical, there's a huge scene where he rips down the Nazi flag and tears it. It's a pivotal part of the whole musical. that is now not going to be in it. So I don't know what they're going to show him tearing down, maybe just a red flag and, oh, hey, oops, sorry. But we've gotten to this hypersensitivity that's just so stupid. Everyone's like, every little thing offends them. And I'm sure this is going to offend people because they're going to make, well, you got to look at Islamophobia and homophobia and racism, blah, blah. And they go on and on and on and on. And it's taken the wrong way. It's taken to an extreme that, yeah, sure, you can find and twist things to a point where people say and do things and then they're gone. And we're attacking people and we're going back. It's one thing if someone comes out and says something directly that is against someone or a race of people or a protected class of people right now, as opposed to something they said when they were like teenagers. I think anything that is done more than 5 years ago, don't bring it up. If they haven't said anything since then, it shouldn't be brought back up. Okay, if they're still saying the same thing, okay, yeah, you can then go back and say, yeah, they've been saying this since 1980 and they're still saying it. But if it's something that they said in 2000, it's now 2018, it's crazy, it's almost 20 years from 2000. 2011, 2010, it's still 8 years past that. We have to have a statute of limitations. I mean, we have that in courts of law now. You can't go back and try somebody for something that's X amount of years past. I think the thought police are going crazily insane. See, like, for me, that's offensive. The fact that you can go back and attack something or someone for something they said when they were 5-6 years ago. And obviously people change. I know people who went from being Nazis and Klanmen to now are helping inner city kids and not at all like what they used to be. And that transformation happened within a year. They've changed because their minds were open, their eyes were open. But then to see them doing these things, and then I could go back, well, like 2 years ago, you were burning a cross, Can I judge that? No, they've changed how they are. And we've got to realize that. I profess to be a Christian, and there's comedians out there that just destroy Christianity, like Patton Oswalt, Richie Gervais, but I enjoy their comedy. I still laugh at a lot of what they say and do. Do they say things that are offensive towards Christians? All the time. But guess what? I don't go and protest them. I don't say, hey, you need to stop that. No, my gosh, you made fun of God and Jesus. I think God and Jesus are big enough that, you can make fun of them and they're not going to cry about it. You can make fun of my Christianity. You can make fun of me. I'm not going to cry about it. We got to get to that point where we have a thicker skin that when there's things said and done, we don't immediately go to our safe spaces and our protesting and realize that, just because somebody says something, it's not going to ruin my life. And unfortunately, I think people now, we've become to a point that when someone says something, we're so hypersensitive that we have to lash out, fight back. And I don't think that helps. I think a lot of times to diffuse the situation, when someone says something we may dislike or are even offended by, if we just stop and let them say their thing and just be like, wow, that's your thought process. That's very interesting. And then just walk away. You have the choice not to ever speak to them again. If you don't like a certain entertainer, you have the choice not to go to their shows. If Kevin Hart was the Oscar guy and you did not like the thing he said X amount of years ago, don't watch the Oscars. That's how you show them. But I mean, this whole ridiculousness that we're getting into, that we go back in time to find something that someone did or said just to like tear them apart and not look at the whole life work that they have done. It's just sickening. And the society we're creating is really disturbing and sad. We are actually creating a society that is much like the Germans of 1930, where if you said something against a Führer, watch out. And these people who are saying that they're anti that are really becoming that, where you can't say things, you can't do things without them attacking you. And that's the brown shirts. And that's a scary world we're creating. And people need to actually go watch The Sound of Music and see what that world was like. Actually read, look up history and find out what these people were doing and how they were treating people. And that's all I gotta say. Let's try to tone down the hypersensitivity just for a little bit and realize, people on an individual level are not really that bad. And people are constantly growing and constantly changing. I'm not nearly the same person I was in college. I was a complete jerk back then. I'm less of a jerk now. I'm still kind of a jerk, but I'm not as much of a jerk. So let's give everybody a chance to grow, help them grow without attacking. Because when you attack a plant, you destroy it. If you cultivate a plant, it becomes something great. So take some time, cultivate each other. Don't just tear down. See ya.